through my childhood years, I was accustomed to seeing a lighted lamp in front of a deity. When asked for the reason for a lamp, the message given was quite simple. You have a puja room or deity at home and you should light a lamp. No more questions asked. Further, it wasn't one lamp but two that should be lit. The lighted lamp was given quite a higher level of importance, so much so that if by chance the lighted wick of the lamp were to go off, it was considered to be a bad omen. And there was a prophecy of something bad to happen, including the potential death of someone. This went on as a practice, and I had come to accept it. But then there were several exceptions, like it was okay to blow off a lamp that was lighted during the times of a power cut, which was quite a common occurrence in those days in India. I remember the other exception was that when someone dies, we had to light only one lamp and not two. And there were many more of such exceptions. While I accepted these practices, somewhere in my inquisitive mind there was a dissatisfaction. I needed real answers that were logical. Then in my adult years, as I kept asking for answers, I usually would not get a consistent one. Most occasions it was just another form of taking the response at face value. Later, when I traveled quite a distance on my spiritual journey of inquiry based on the Gita and the Upanishads, these type of questions are no longer matters of blind belief, but topics I can examine from a lens of rational, spiritual, or experiential. And that is how we are going to look at this aspect of lighting of a lamp today, again based on the Gita and the Upanishads. Now there are two reasons for lighting a lamp. Let us look at the first one. In the Upanishadic or the Vedantic times, time was spent on recognizing who we are and our purpose of life. Basically, those are the teachings of the Gita and the Upanishad. Any aspect, including rituals, was linked to the fundamental elements of nature: earth, fire, air, water, space. In fact, even the divine, or if you want to use the common term God, was referred to as that. In those days, there was a discipline of daily offerings to the fundamental elements of nature. Fire, as the visible form of energy, was an easy target of offering. After all, it offered light and had many uses. The fire was referred to as Agni, or the first. Each house had a fire altar, considered sacred, and it was a standard fixture. Offerings were to three fires. The first one, the earthly element of light, or the burning fire in the altar. Second one was the atmospheric element of light, or the lightning in the skies. Third one was the celestial element of light, or the light of the sun. The earthly fire would be a running fire in the home, never extinguished. From this earthly fire, another fire linked to the atmospheric form would be kindled and used for purposes such as cooking and worship. Since this fire represented an atmospheric form, this was considered auspicious. As a tradition, it was common to worship this fire for material desires, wealth, richness, offspring, good health, and much more. This fire was kept in the eastern direction. Then there was the fire linked to the celestial elements, or Dakshinagni. This fire was for oblations to the departed and worship in remembrance of the departed. There was a recognition that we are one with this big celestial cosmos, and this fire was kept in the southern direction. So you had three fires: earthly, continuously burning; second one used for worship, cooking, etc., and the third one as oblations to the departed. Today, we still symbolize the worship or offering to these three fires by lighting a lamp. Light at its core has the energy of life. In that sense, lighting a lamp emanates radiant energy within the house. An earthen lamp, cotton wick, and oil represent the fundamental elements of nature. lighting the lamp at dawn or dusk. Recognize the transitional moments of the day. Agni altars are not practical to maintain within apartments and houses, but they are still the continuing traditions in many temples, in addition to lighting a lamp. Agni, of course, is replaced in our homes with oil lamps and sometimes electric bulbs. Now, what is the second reason for lighting a lamp at a home or a temple? This reasoning is quite profound and one that requires extreme deep thought. The lighted lamp in the temple is to be construed in one of two ways. Number one, as the supreme light showing the path of inquiry for the one who is a seeker of the truth. Since the Supreme is also called Paramatma, this light can be called Divya Jyoti, Jyoti meaning light. Which is why in many temples, even when the temple doors are closed, a light is always kept outside for the devotees to represent the divine within the temple. When looked at it from our perspective or a devotee's perspective, it is a light to remind us of that internal spark of that Supreme that is all within us. It reminds us that only through that light of knowledge, and when focused completely within and not on the outside sense objects, is when we will realize our inner self of peace and tranquility. Now, since this light pertains to the inner spark within us or the Atman, it is also called Atma Jyoti. So to summarize, the second reason you light a lamp at your home or a temple is because it represents the Divya Jyoti or the Atma Jyoti. Now, before I close, let me address a couple of other peripheral topics related to lighting of the lamp. You will find this interesting. First is the number of lamps. The number of lamps actually does not matter. Lighting 1 or 1,000 is the same from a spiritual standpoint. Anything above 1 is no longer symbolism of spiritualism, but it's probably your own personal preference of decoration or a pleasing appearance to the eyes. Now, the other big debate is on number of wicks in a lamp. Should you have 1, 2, or 3 wicks in a lamp? This is again a personal preference. Anything is fine. 1, 2, or 3 wicks is fine. A symbolic meaning is usually attributed to the number of wicks. 3 wicks represent the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. If you keep 2 wicks, then they represent a duality of the Supreme and us. And if you put a single wick, then that is at the core of everything. It represents that there is only one source of energy, and that is divinity. From a practical standpoint, the reason you may want to put more wicks is pure physics. A single wick slides away in the lamp, whereas a 2 or a 3 wick with twisted strands has better grip and support. So it's pure physics. Hope this video was helpful and help kind of dispel some of the beliefs and blind faith, you could say, around lighting of a lamp. Lighting of a lamp is really based on true spirituality as guided by the Gita and the Upanishad. They represent the fundamental elements of nature or Agni, and they represent knowledge or the divinity that is given to us by the Supreme through the Divya Jyoti, or represents the Divya Jyoti, or the Atma Jyoti. And next time when you light a lamp, don't get too bogged down by the number of wicks or the number of lamps. 1 is enough. If you want to light more, that's your choice. It's a personal preference. If it helps you, if it keeps you happy, if it lightens the house a lot more, go for it. Nothing prevents it. But after all, at the end of the day, why not light a lamp? Make it a practice to not only give light within the house, but also give this symbolic representation, this philosophical representation that it represents the light of knowledge, and helps you use it as an anchor for further contemplation and your own journey of the inquiry of truth. Thank you. Talk to you all soon.